that down a bit.
Station's round somewhere. Maybe. I know, it's heading this way. We'll go a bit further. Yeah, we're going to go on a bit. I did not recognize it. I've been deep down to it. Yeah, it looks like This is so surreal seeing you here with the survivor. Hey, Mr. Dash. Sorry, fancy. Yeah, man. Sorry, fancy.
Right from the start, our Chief Executive is going to do a bit of an introduction for some speakers and tell you a little bit about the history of where we were then and how we've got to where we are now. So I'm going to hand over to Ty Pedrington, who's our Chief Executive, and he will take us forward. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome to sunny Didcot. It's not always like this, I can promise you that. But anyway, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to return the steam engine 1466 after an incredible 6.5-year restoration project. When 1466 was first purchased in 1963 for £750, few could have imagined that its restoration would one day cost nearly 1,000 times that amount. My own first encounter with this wonderful engine was at the Forest of Dean 5 years ago. And I'd just like to say with confidence that it's here today thanks in no small part to the determination and perseverance of Phil Morrell, who is speaking later today. As with all steam locomotives, the journey back to steam is never straightforward, but today we see the results of countless hours of dedication, skill and passion. On behalf of everyone here, I'd like to thank all who were involved in bringing 1466 back to life. We are really truly grateful. I'd like to introduce David Lamar, who's a very important contributor to this story.
My name is David Lamar. I am young and youthful and sprightly. I'm certainly not old enough to be involved in the purchase of this locomotive. That's my father, so I am talking in his place. Hopefully this isn't too boring a history lesson. If I see you getting fidgety and wandering off and going to get a cup of coffee, I'll take the hint. What I'd like to do is just take you through a little bit of the history of how this locomotive was acquired and what it means to the society and the organisation that we see here. Now I live in South Devon. It's a bank holiday weekend. We left very early this morning. Mainly because I wanted to be absolutely certain we were here on time, and I'll explain why later on, but it was critical that we were here before this event took place. So, I'm afraid I'm reading, so please bear with me. I think you might know that the origins of the preservation of this locomotive and the formation of the Great Western Society, subsequently Didcot Railway Centre, lie in the desire in 1961 of Philip Bluebell to send one of the DWI small 48 class locomotives, which is what this is. Rather than see all of them scrapped as was planned at the time. One of that number, a gentleman named John Barlow, was a typewriter. So he was deputised to write a letter to the Railway magazine stating their aim of raising enough money, £1,130 at that point was the price quoted, I think. It was then largely forgotten about until the letter was published later on in the year. Donations started to arrive, so more concrete action had to be taken, as they say. So, the succeeding 2 years, saw more monies donated and funds raised, albeit very slowly. The railway preservation, now heritage movement, in the UK, was at that time in its infancy, with the standard gauge Bluebell railway in Sussex and several narrow gauge lines in Wales being the few successful examples of a myriad of proposed schemes. No how-to manual existed detailing the process of purchasing a full-size steam railway locomotive or raising the necessary funds, let alone the subsequent questions of operation, storage, maintenance, insurance, all those things if those efforts were successful. The name of the organisation changed subtly over this time from the initial 48XX Preservation Society, which is a very focused title, to the Great Western Preservation Society, which is the complete opposite, and which stated amongst its aims, I believe, restoration and purchase of a main line from Paddington, and gradually moved across to the simpler Great Western Society, which is what exists now. Fundraising was not helped by many so-called railway enthusiasts deriding the efforts of the GWS members' efforts. Slowly, however, the bank balance rose until by September 1963, £623 had been donated or promised by 90 members. A letter that was then circulated to those members, stating that time was running short as remaining examples of the class were being consigned to scrapyards and there was a real danger of missing the boat. By October, £718 had been raised from 110 members. And at that point it was felt that a concrete approach could be made to British Railways to buy a locomotive. BR had stated that they were becoming heartily sick of the ever-increasing number of inquiries being made to purchase locos and stock, most of which they felt to be ill-considered, so time was of the essence in all sorts of different ways.
Don't stop, please. Shit.
Right, so close.
No, come back there. Come back. Harvey, come here. Here.
Water up, steam, and then come back. First one to the scratch.